So Apple's back with a bang. Kind of. The tech giant is looking to gain some more market share here in the smart speaker space with their latest addition, the HomePod 2, also known as the HomePod 2nd generation. This new and improved version of the original, which was discontinued in 2021, looks strikingly similar on the outside, but comes with exciting revamped features that set it apart from its predecessors and rivals. Now, if you are already an Apple fan, you'll be pleased to know that this does work with Apple TV 4K. It kind of creates this centralized home entertainment system, and I've also used this speaker to edit a few videos, and it's worked really well. But should you go ahead and spend the money, rush out, pick this thing up? Let's go ahead and cover the features first and compare it to a few other smart speakers that are currently out in the market. The 2nd gen HomePod will set you back $299. That may seem steep compared to its competitors, such as the Amazon Echo Studio at $199 or the Sonos one at $219. But keep in mind that Apple always aims for that premium market with its products. For design, the HomePod 2 may look similar to its predecessor, but there are some significant upgrades to the design that make it worth considering. At first glance, you might think that this new HomePod is just like the previous one, with its cylindrical shape and fabric-covered exterior. However, upon closer inspection, you'll notice some significant differences. The most noticeable change is the touchscreen, which is now slightly recessed and has a larger illuminated area that extends almost to the edges. When activated, these swirling colors are mesmerizing and add a fun touch to this device. Now, you also still have two colorways. This time around, though, instead of space gray, we have midnight, which looks like someone just dumped a massive bucket of contrast on it. I do think it looks better than the space gray, and then you also still get white, which is what we have in this particular setup. But you know what? Your design improvements don't really stop there. We now have an Apple HomePod with no power cord connected. As you guys can see, we can actually disconnect and detach the power cord this time around, whereas we weren't able to do that with the previous model or the Apple Studio display, which is kind of quite annoying. This time around, I'm glad because if you have a particular setup where you have to feed a wire through something, it makes so much more sense and it looks much cleaner when you can go ahead and disconnect that power cord and make it look much better in your setup. This also means that if the cord becomes damaged, you can simply replace it without having to purchase an entirely new HomePod. Additionally, the bottom of the HomePod 2 is made of plastic rather than silicone, eliminating the risk of leaving a white ring on your furniture, which was a common issue with the original. And you know what? It still is somewhat of an issue. Thankfully for me, I left the paper on the bottom of mine just in case. Sure enough, a few days later, MKBHD posted a video on Instagram showing it does still leave somewhat of a ring on the bottom of the speaker. So if you have some expensive furniture or somewhere where you don't really want a nasty little ring on your desk, make sure you guys think about that before you take that piece of paper off. As for the device's functionality, the top of the HomePod 2 is where you'll find the controls. You can tap on it to play or pause your music, skip tracks, adjust the volume, and summon Siri. The plus and minus signs to increase the volume are also more pronounced this time around, making them easier to locate. However, it can be a bit tricky to view them, especially in brighter settings. Now, one area where the HomePod 2 could have done a little bit better is, I know Apple prioritizes privacy, but there's no way to turn on and off the microphones to ensure that Siri isn't always listening to your conversation. She is, and the only way around this, obviously, is to go ahead and unplug it from the wall. We're not going to get into this. The point I'm trying to make is if you're saying something you're not supposed to be saying around the speaker, make sure it's disconnected. Now, when it comes to sound quality, the HomePod 2 doesn't disappoint. Inside this device, you'll find a large 4-inch speaker facing upwards and an array of 5 smaller tweeters around the bottom. The 4 microphones in the middle of the device are there to listen to your voice commands. The sound is clear, powerful, and immersive, making it an excellent choice for music lovers. It should also come as no surprise that the HomePod 2 sounds just as good, if not better, than the original. However, in a side-by-side comparison between this and the Sonos One, there was still a fairly clear difference between both of these. Like the original HomePod, the HomePod 2 uses its microphone to listen to echoes, so it can sonically map the room that it's in and then adjust the audio output to sound best for that room. It's all done automatically without you needing to go ahead and do anything. By comparison, the Sonos One requires you to take your phone and move around the room while it maps it for you. So there is a more initial investment, a more hands-on experience when you do go ahead and set it up the first time. Whereas with the HomePod, it kind of pretty much just does everything for you. Over the course of several days, I listened to a variety of tracks on both the HomePod and the Sonos, using both Spotify and Apple Music, along with streaming music via Apple AirPlay. I found in general that the HomePod 2 delivered stronger bass. The Sonos One did a better job with mids and highs, making voices sound much more present. Now, I also had a few issues where I had to completely reset the HomePod, erase it from my network, and add it back on. I had a ton of bugs with it, and this happened when I used Spotify on my phone or my MacBook, especially via Apple AirPlay, which is the only way to really go ahead and use Spotify now. But I could never recreate that problem with Apple Music. While listening to a ton of tracks on the Sonos, I noticed that the sound quality and voice coming from artists did come through a bit more crisp and clear. With the HomePod, it sounded decent but not as crisp, although it did provide a bit more in terms of bass, which I actually prefer. Anything from Tupac to Young Jeezy sounded much better on the HomePod 2 thanks to its stronger bass drive, while I preferred the Sonos for more vocal-driven tracks like anything country. I'd like to note something here. It's not like I go out of my way to listen to country music. I was doing it for you guys so I can test it out. Just note that if I need something more bass driven, I'm heading over towards the HomePod. Whereas if it's something more vocals that I'm trying to hear, more crisp, clear sound, I would definitely go ahead and pick up the Sonos. Now, as with most other smart speakers that are out in today's market, you can go ahead and daisy chain this one, pair two of them together, and create a stereo pair. Just note that it has to be two HomePod second generation models. You can't connect this, say for example, with a HomePod Mini. Just doesn't work. But it does give you a ton of power and a ton of bass, and it makes it a nice $600 speaker pair. Kind of. I should also note that Apple has opened up Siri to work with third-party music services such as Pandora, Deezer, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio. It frustratingly still gives me issues with Spotify, which is and always will be much better than Apple Music. Get triggered. It also doesn't have an audio jack, it won't pair to anything that's not an Apple product, it won't let Spotify become my default music app, and it still can't be used as a regular Bluetooth speaker. Why? Getting into features and functionality. On the other hand, the HomePod 2 does boast some exciting new smart home capabilities that do set it apart from its predecessor. Most notably, it now supports Matter, a new standard that makes it easier to connect more devices to your smart home setup. This is a significant improvement for Apple, whose HomeKit platform has been limited in terms of device compatibility compared to Alexa and Google Home. Now, with the upcoming updates this spring, your HomePod 2 will also be able to detect the sound of smoke or carbon monoxide detectors and send you an alert. This feature is similar to Alexa Guard, but with the added ability to listen for glass breaking. Now, not only does your HomePod 2 have temperature and humidity sensors built in, but you can also use Siri to ask for temperatures in a specific room. You can even create a routine to turn on a fan or smart air conditioner if the temperature does get too high, just like with the latest Amazon Echo models. For example, hey Siri, what's the temperature outside?
I can't tell your location because of your settings. Where would you like to hear the weather for?
Hey Siri, what's the temperature outside in Detroit?
In Detroit, Michigan, it's 42 degrees.
Hey Siri, what's the temperature in this room?
It's 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the office.
Not bad. Siri's also made some welcome improvements, such as the ability to create as many timers as you want and give them custom names. Plus, with HomeKit, you can integrate your smart home devices to perform comprehensive automation, like lowering window shades when a room gets too hot, or locking doors and turning down the air conditioner when everyone leaves the house. Now, there are still some areas where HomeKit needs to improve, such as the intercom feature. Yeah, we didn't forget about that. The HomePod 2nd Gen smart home capabilities offer an engaging and intuitive experience for homeowners looking to automate their daily routines. Now, even with these advances, I feel like Apple could have still gone even further here, especially at this price point. I mean, for starters, the HomePod 2 only has an 802.11n Wi-Fi connection, which is several generations behind what we have now. We have Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 is on the way. If you want to charge a premium price, provide premium. Why should a consumer go ahead and spend a few $100s extra for sound quality? I mean, that's a tough sell, which is why the first generation flopped. Meanwhile, the 5th generation Amazon Echo Dot was updated so that it can act as a repeater for an Aero Mesh router, which is owned by Amazon. Now, I don't remember if Apple ever made its own router. If they did, it's been a while, but even so, Amazon's just feels a bit more future-proof here in this scenario. Now, if you are an audiophile, this is definitely a decent purchase, I feel like. But at this price point, it still is a little bit more than the competition. Now, if you're in that Apple ecosystem, obviously this is probably your only choice aside from the HomePod Mini. But then again, its audio quality is second to none, with only the Sonos really giving it a run for its money. Plus, the HomePod 2 has the added bonus of serving as a speaker for your Apple TV 4K, which can really enhance your movie watching experience. While the HomePod 2 does have some impressive smart home capabilities, it's still limited by its exclusive use of HomeKit. In contrast, the Sonos One can be used with either Alexa or Google Home. Now, another thing to consider, like I mentioned before multiple times in the video, is its price point, $299, right? And if you're looking to pair two of these together, you're at $600, which is a hefty investment. For me, I feel like I'd personally, as a consumer, pick up the HomePod Mini and then also pick up a Sonos and have both. I mean, why wouldn't you do that, right? $300 is almost the same price. That's what I would do. So while the HomePod 2 is still a solid choice for Apple enthusiasts, at this price point, you'll still want to weigh the costs against the benefits here, especially if you're looking for a smart speaker to integrate with all your smart home devices. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know down below, where you'll also find the links to everything that we covered in today's episode. If you want to see more, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DetroitFury. And if you enjoyed this content, please make sure you smash that like button for me, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in my next episode. Peace.